There's a cost associated with doing business in Asia, and a lot of people don't figure their total supply chain costs, including warranty and quality issues and the cost of transportation and flying back and forth to fix problems and those type of things, because it's hard to put your fingers on that. We've been very good at identifying the total cost of doing business, and we've taken all of that hassle out of it for our customers.
So we're looking for the Holy Grail here, like Indiana Jones in Knight Electronics. Massive storeroom. So you guys do so many different things, and you've walked us through the history of the company, but you guys have an interesting approach to manufacturing, because you do manufacturing offshore, and yet the outcome of that is beneficial to your customers onshore.
Yeah, it's counterintuitive. Everyone thinks that if I'm going to move this product and I'm going to have someone, it's going to be outsourced, that's going to cause a net loss of jobs.
Right.
But what we found is exactly the opposite. And as an example, we had a customer of ours come to us who we had been providing components to for a while, custom products, and we'd asked about the concept of maybe doing a sub-assembly or doing some turnkey work for them, and we were always met with, oh, no, it's going to cost us jobs, and we're a member of the Chamber of Commerce, and it's going to make us look bad, and that just wouldn't be good. And I said, well, the offer is always on the table. If you want our help, certainly, let us take a look at it. And about a year and a half went by, and the customer got himself into a jam where he took an order that he couldn't make money at, and said, look, I think we're going to have to take you up on your offer. Can you guys take a look at this again? And we did. And we sent him a quote, and we enabled him to make enough money that he was able to salvage that business and keep it profitable, but they just wrung their hands over having to lay people off. However, with the new price structure that was now available to them, they started selling more product. And what they did is they didn't have to lay off anyone. What they did is retrain their work staff or their workforce to go back and do final testing and work on higher margin, higher tech goods, and let us worry about the stuff that was more labor intensive. And in reality, they had to increase their workforce, and they doubled the size of their production facility. And that's a great story, because that's not the story you hear.
Yeah.
So, it's a matter of making the most in efficiency in supply chain, and that's what we're all about. Whether it's efficiencies in manufacturing or in an individual component, or whether it's multiple destinations around the planet. We have customers who say, we want you to manufacture, but I need product in Cleveland, and I need product in Shanghai, and I need product in London. And we can deliver all three of those just as easily as we could had it just been in one location.
In that example of your customer, you're manufacturing that product for him in China, right?
Or Taiwan.
Or Taiwan.
Or here. We have manufacturing here as well.
So you have facilities in Taiwan, Texas, China.
Yep.
One of the things that and you own those, right?
Yeah, they're controlled facilities, correct.
Yeah, so that's one of the challenges that we've run across. Somebody will send their GM over to oversee their contract manufacturer.
Right.
They'll come back home. Next thing you know, they've changed components or materials on the board, or in some cases, vanished overnight.
That's what's critical about having feet on the street with your own people in your own facility. We obviously can't own every facility that we do business with. As an example, if I were going to buy nylon standoffs, I don't own the nylon standoff facility. However, I need to be able to have my own people go visit that factory to know, does it have the financial wherewithal? Are they going to be here tomorrow? I mean, the internet's made things, the internet has made things interesting from the standpoint that anybody can go online and then go find a supplier in China. Okay, that could be a guy with a cell phone, working out of his apartment. He's got a great website. So I'll tell you, now I get a lot of things where the company says, oh, I want you to use ABC company in China, and here's the guy's name and address. And we'll go and find out that there's nothing there. We'll go back to the customer and say, well, I know you've asked me to use this component in your assembly, but you may have long-term issues with this because we don't think that they've got the financial wherewithal. We're just letting you know that this is the case. If it's sole sourced and you guys want us to use that, we'll do that. But we've got the ability to go back and check to make sure that it's a repeatable thing every single time.
Right, right.
And that's critical, because the last thing you want to do is have a very lean supply chain and then get a bunch of product in and discover that 50% of it's bad. Then what?
You guys own manufacturing overseas. Is that not an issue with the distance and the time zone changes and all that? Or
no, it's not. Matter of fact, it actually works to our advantage. Let's just say a customer in Oklahoma calls me and he said, I'm doing this product, I want to make a design change. Or I need a new whatever it is. And he'll send me the drawings or the change that needs to be made. He can send that to me at 5 o'clock. I've got answers for him at 8 o'clock the next morning. So the fact that I'm working half a world away with my engineering staff over there, they're working while I'm sleeping.
Right.
Or while the customer's sleeping. And that works to their benefit. Whereas if we all worked in the same time zone, that's a 2-day project, because I get it at 5 o'clock, then I can start working it the next day, and I might have the answer the following day if I had to do everything right here. So it actually works to our benefit. Having my folks local on the ground in Asia enables them to go over and make immediate changes. So if they have an issue that comes up, whether it be a question about manufacturing or a quality issue or a question about a component, all they have to do is pick up the phone and make a run over, and they're there.
You guys started overseas in the 80s?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And in China, presumably, it wasn't like dancing the two-step. You probably learned a lot of lessons in the early years. What were some of those lessons?
It's been well reported, the difficulties of manufacturing in China. And we're well aware of the challenges that face companies that do that. Matter of fact, we even have a term for it, boomerang customers, people who have gone over to China and got burned and then end up coming back. And there's a whole subset of people that just love us for that, because they've already figured out how difficult it is and appreciate what it is we do for a living to make a good quality product available to our customers. Some of the things that we learned along the way are the different types of companies that have evolved in mainland China. And again, we started back in the 80s, and Japan was the manufacturing base. And then it moved off to Taiwan and a little bit to Korea, and then it started to migrate towards mainland China. But those companies that moved to China that were most successful were ones that were either controlled by Japanese interest or Taiwanese interest or Korean interest. The indigenous mainland Chinese companies did not have the management skills or the background to really be successful, and they were catering to a local market and quite often produced a very substandard product. And I'll be the first one to tell you, you can get whatever quality you want out of any factory in mainland China. You just have to pay attention, and you have to know exactly what it is you want. And so often we take things for granted. We expect that all the nuts and bolts will fit. If I give you a nut and bolt, we're all going to assume that. That's not necessarily a good assumption in mainland China. You've got to specify that the nut and bolt must fit. Okay? We know that. But folks who go over there for the first time, who found somebody online, that might not occur to them that they need to actually specify down to the nth degree that all of these things have to work as common sense would dictate.
So speaking of boomerang effects, everybody's starting to write, talk about, bring manufacturing back on shore, which in some cases works, and in some cases might not be the wisest step, if I'm hearing what you're saying.
It is a knee-jerk reaction to everything. Back 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it was, I have to find a manufacturing partner in China because it's the only one to survive. A lot of companies never did the math. They never looked at it and said, is this a good move for my company? They just said, well, all the trade journals say go to China, I'm going to China. Bad reason to do things. You should always calculate the risks and the rewards before deciding to make some kind of an action.
And never believe what you read in a trade journal.
Not always. But in this case, there are a lot of companies that are moving back, and they're moving back everything and everything might not be the solution. I don't really think anyone believes that cramming resistors into a board here is the best use of everyone's skill set here. And there might be for some, but not for all. And so we have to weigh what we want to do in this country versus what we don't want to do, and we want to bring back the things that make sense. And just as I spoke of the other scenario with the company that decided to finally give us some turnkey work and ended up having to expand their business, that was because they took an inefficient process and gave it to us, made it much more efficient, and were able to expand their business with it. Had they just decided to move everything back or move everything over, neither one of those scenarios would have worked out well for them.
Right.
And that's really the case.